Watch a Pepsi commercial. There you see Michael Jackson cranking along. Here's a guy that doesn't even drink Pepsi, and yet he was paid $15 million for 180 seconds of his time. Why? Because large numbers of people in our country, when they hear Michael Jackson's music, feel great. They feel a level of pleasure. And all they have to do is see him or hear his music, and they feel it. In fact, they want that pleasure so much they bought more of his records than anybody in history. So what happens? Well, a little company comes along named Pepsi, and they say, look, we want people to feel that way about Pepsi. Let's just do a little conditioning here. Let's get them to associate those feelings to our product. Then they'll want our product as much as they want Michael Jackson. That's why they paid him $15 million. I mean, how did they do it? Well, you got to wait till the next tape to find out how they did it. But right now, let's just get really clear about that. Yeah, that's right. I want to make sure you tune in tomorrow. That's right. But meanwhile, just get clear. Pain and pleasure are the biggest motivators. And of the two, again, I must say, we will do more to avoid pain, usually, than we ever will to gain pleasure. I mean, think about it. Which would you work harder for? To save $25,000, save it up, or to keep somebody from stealing $25,000 from you? I would say usually you'll do more to avoid the pain. Most people in life, in fact, don't succeed until they have enough pain. I mean, think about it. Some of the greatest success stories that we could talk about are people that finally hit rock bottom where they had so much pain they couldn't stand anymore, and that drove them for the pleasure of success. You know, there are all kinds of stories. Og Mandino is a gentleman. I really enjoy his books. I don't know if you've read them, but they're worth picking up. One is called The Greatest Salesman in the World. Here's a gentleman who hit rock bottom, who was an absolute drunk, who was living out on the streets, who had no future, who the only way he could stay warm during the winter was to wander into the libraries. And as he did, he began to pick up some books and read some books and actually feed his mind, very much like you've committed yourself to do for these 30 days. And the stimulation there began to change his life. And what happened was he felt that he had so much pain in his life that that was it, that he was no longer willing to experience that. And in his mind, he saw that there was a way to gain pleasure by developing himself, by growing. He eventually went to work for W. Clement Stone and became the editor-in-chief of Success magazine. We already talked about Lee Iacocca and how his pain drove him to success. I mean, think about it. What are some of the things you've missed out on in your life simply because, even though you wanted the pleasure of achieving them or obtaining them or making those things happen, your brain also said, yeah, but it could lead to pain, and that pain stopped you from following through, using your power and getting the results. Has it happened more than once in your life? You and I both know it has. So how can we use this understanding of the controlling force? How can we use the understanding that pain is a greater motivator than even pleasure? Well, the way to use it is to begin to understand that in any moment in time, our reality is based on whatever we focus on. That is, at any moment in time, whatever you focus on is what's most real to you. For example, if you're looking at that piece of chocolate and you think about eating the chocolate and you just let your mind flow based on its old associations, it might say, yumbo, it's time to eat. You might immediately get that pleasure feeling. And as long as you focus on the pleasure you're going to get, and that is your primary focus, and that's what's most real to you, then you're going to be drawn towards the chocolate. But haven't you also had times where you didn't eat the chocolate? Or you didn't eat something that normally you're kind of addicted to? Haven't there been times when you've stopped yourself? How have you done that? The answer is you changed your focus, and you focused on the pain you probably would experience or the pleasure you would get by not eating the chocolate. So what you did is, instead of just thinking intellectually, well, yeah, not eating the chocolate will make me thinner, you literally focused on, hey, I'm going to be going to this particular ball and I want to look like $1,000,000. I want to feel strong. If I eat that chocolate, I'm going to feel lousy. I'm going to feel bloated. I'm going to feel heavy. So you began to focus on all the pain plus all the pleasure you get by not eating it. And your behavior changed. Isn't that true? If you've ever stuck to a diet, for example, isn't it true that the way you stuck to it is one day you finally got to the point where you'd had it, and you said, look, I looked in the mirror one day, or somebody said something to you, or you noticed that you were just feeling sloppy and tired, and you went through what I call threshold. Threshold is when you experience so much pain you said, I've had it, that's it, no more. And then you begin to find a way to change it. Well, I believe that you can do this with anything at any moment in time, and I know you can. All you got to do is control your mental focus. So if you want to change your behavior, you must focus on how not doing something is going to be more painful than just going for it. In other words, link not taking action as being more painful than just doing it. Just the way we talked about with procrastination, do it to yourself up front. Don't wait till life puts you in a pressure situation where you feel like you have to do something. Does that make sense? So how can we use this in other areas of our life? Do the same thing. You want to connect with somebody, you want to make sure you communicate with them, then think about, if I don't do this, I know I feel busy, I know I feel overloaded, but if I don't call them here on their birthday or on Easter, how's it going to make them feel? How am I going to feel? Now, that would be painful. If I just made the call and I connect with them and they feel appreciated, how's that going to make me feel? Pleasurable. Use pain and pleasure instead of having pain and pleasure use you. That's the secret to success. You do that and you're in control of your life. You don't do that and life controls you. And unfortunately for most people, life controls them. So let's change it. And in the next tape, we're going to talk about specifically how to change what we associate pain and pleasure to. But step number one is just getting clear that this is the controlling force of your life. If there's anything you want to do and you can't figure out why you're not doing it, there's a simple answer. You link more pain to doing it than not doing it. Hey, if you don't have enough money, for example, I know that's an issue for a lot of people. It was for a good deal of my life. If you don't have money, there's only one reason. You link more pain to having more money than to not having it. Now you say, okay, Tony, you've been okay up until now. Now you've gone over threshold. I don't buy that theory. Hey, I wouldn't have bought it either, but it's true. I've got to tell you something. You're an intelligent person. You have the ability to produce results. You had enough personal power to make a phone call, put your money on the line, and now you're following through and listening to it. You're in that top 1/10 of 1%, literally. I mean, you aren't just somebody who's just hanging out. You're willing to do something about it. Even with all of that, your ability to follow through, if you don't have the money that you want in your life, it's not because you're not smart enough. It's not because you don't have the ability. It's not because there isn't money available. There's plenty of money in the world. If you don't have any, that's because there's something inside of you that you link pain to having it. And the reason I say that is I don't care who it is that I've interviewed or modeled or done a personal consultation with. If they have got a lack of abundance financially, it's because of two things. Number one, they absolutely in their gut, somewhere in their subconscious mind, they think money is going to mean pain. That if I have money, then what's going to happen is to get it, oh gosh, I'm going to have to put out all this effort and that'll be so painful. After all, I'm kind of comfortable where I am. Yeah, I'd like more money, but I'm kind of feeling pretty good here. And I'm feeling pretty pleasurable here, but God, having money, it would take some pain, so they don't follow through. Or, in order to have money, you've got to take advantage of other people. And that person has that belief. And you and I, we're not going to take advantage of people. In our gut, we wouldn't allow ourselves to do that. That would be ultimate pain for most of us. So we're not going to do that. Now, I know there's some people that don't link pain to taking advantage of people, but most people, I think, do in their heart. So you don't want to do that, so that's painful. Or they've got linked up, well, if you make money, then people are going to judge you. All of a sudden, you're going to be ostracized. Or maybe somewhere in your mind you believe, oh gosh, if I make that much money and I make it to the top financially, I'll be all alone. I'll be lonely at the top. Hey, that's a bunch of garbage. It is not lonely at the top. It's true the bottom is more crowded, but there's plenty of room at the top. And if you do things in a way that supports the people around you, you can take your friends with you financially. The point is that if you don't have the money, it's because you link pain to it. There's more pain. Imagine motivating your life as being a scale, if you would. And on one side is pain and the other is pleasure. And your brain is always weighing, if I take this action, what's it going to mean? More pleasure and less pain, or more pain and less pleasure? If you're not following through, it's because you've got that scale weighted in the opposite direction as it needs to be. And if you're going to change your behavior and use your personal power, then you've got to change what you associate pain and pleasure to. If you're sabotaging your success in any area of your life, it's exactly the same reason. You're having what I call approach avoidance. That is, you have a mixed set of associations about pain and pleasure. As I gave you the earlier example, in a relationship, God, I want to be in a relationship. It will mean pleasure. But then you get into it and you start to notice some things and your brain says, oh, it might end. It might mean pain. And so you start to make relationships work and you sabotage them. You may do the same thing financially. Go, God, I want money because money will mean for me maybe more freedom, or I could give to my friends, or I could buy my kids something, or I could travel the world, or I could learn something new, or I could hire this best coach in the world to do something for me. And yet at the same time, your brain's going, yeah, but then I'll get judged, or yeah, I'll have to give up all this stuff, or I'll have no time with my family and all this pain. And so you don't follow through and you begin to sabotage financially. If you're going to change that once and for all, forever, you've got to right now decide that you control the focus of your mind. And that if you're not following through, all you have to do is focus on what's the pain I'm going to have if I don't do this. Most of us focus on, well, what will be the pain if I take action? And we keep ourselves from using our personal power.